the butterflies and sparks in the beginning of the relationship may or may not lead to having a beautiful marriage. So let's talk about that and why preparation is important in this season of your life. So we were sharing about some things prior in our videos, how choosing a person is so important. And we hear a lot of singles come to us and say, I need to have those butterflies. I need to have those sparks. I need to have that burning fire in my belly when I'm meeting that person. That's how I know that that person is the one. Well, we're going to compare this season of your life with crossing the Jordan River and how it's very good to look at those things before we get to the promised land. For most of you, that's marriage, right? Or dating, and what needs to happen between now and then.
Okay, so the Red Sea crossing, by
Mm-hmm.
the way, was a time in the ancient Hebrews' lives where they had no options. God had to come through for them or they were dead.
Mm-hmm.
It was just do or die. Like they were trapped. Now, the Jordan River crossing was more of an act of obedience and a taking a step of courage. The priests had to set put their feet into the water before the water ever started to part.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was that step of faith before the water parted. And then that could be likened as into perhaps getting into a relationship, starting a relationship, asking a girl out, or saying yes to that guy that asks you out. That could
Mm-hmm.
be your Jordan River crossing, that willingness to say yes and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And but then after that, we have this land of Canaan that needs to be taken. There's giants in the land, right? And here's the big point I want to make, and it has to do with choose your heart now before you cross the Jordan. And then it won't feel harder when you get into an actual relationship. What does
Mm-hmm.
that look like? Well, it looks like preparation,
Mm-hmm.
purposeful, intentional preparation where you are doing whatever you need to do to invest into your personal growth and development in the area of relationships, because out of
Mm-hmm.
relationships flows your success in everything else in life.
Yeah.
I'm talking your relationship with God, your relationship with yourself as far as your identity,
Mm-hmm.
understanding who you are from God's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and then relationship with others. And so if your relationship skills aren't good in any one of those three, the other two areas are going to suffer as well. God, yourself, and others. Those three together.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just, focus on your relationship with God and then be neglecting your relationships amongst, other people.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't work that way. You
Mm-hmm.
have to work on all three, your identity, others, and God, all in balance. It's an order of importance. It's not
Yes.
either or. And so that being said, okay, so you get into this relationship, and that's often where the inner fears and the insecurities and the doubts and the turmoil comes up. And oh, why am I interested in and then
Mm-hmm.
suddenly it kind of fades, or I had this great night, and then the next morning I'm just like all over the place, and I just want to escape and cut and run and get out of it, and all this stuff is flying around. Well, duh. You're fighting the giants of your traumas from the past and your agreements and the experiences you've had, and your
Mm-hmm.
brain is saying, "Run! This isn't safe." Well, of course not. You're in unknown territory. You've never been in the land of Canaan before.
Yeah.
You've never
Mm-hmm.
fought these giants before. It's going to be unfamiliar. Of course, it's going to look scary because here comes a Goliath and his five brothers. Well, I guess they didn't exist yet, but I'm just going to use them as an example. And you've never met them before, right? But they need to be
Mm-hmm.
defeated.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you enter a relationship uh, just based on butterflies and rainbows and
Mm-hmm.
the
And
lovey-dovey feeling,
yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. I'm not dismissing it. It's just not, it's not your, that's not your foundation, right? Connection, as
Mm-hmm.
we hammer on all of our videos, is something that's created and designed with
Mm-hmm.
intentional. What do you do every day to create connection? And
Communication is important as well in that. And also, Jesse's talking about the giants. A lot of times our fears are the giants or the trauma or triggers that come your way. And it is important to have an understanding of how to actually battle those things. And it's not battling each other when those things come up, because each person will be triggering another because of the things that we have, and not intentionally, but it's just the things that people do might trigger us in one way or another. And when you have tools on how to go through those triggers, how to shift from, this place of, I don't know what to do, this is scary, and all that, to where it is a promised land with milk and honey. So starting with the promised land is not going to continue you in the promised land if you don't know how to fight the giants. So,
well, I'm just thinking my own story back when the 6 months leading up to me getting married,
yeah,
I was doing so much hard work, inner work,
yeah.
and I'm not talking about counseling and psychology here or
Mm-hmm.
the deep inner healing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just that. It was literally taking action.
Mm-hmm.
And I was receiving mentorship from Carlos and Chantel Campos at that time and going through their content. And I was plowing through my own inner fears and
Mm-hmm.
taking action therein in the middle of it. And because I was doing the hard work, and those 6 months were not easy.
Mm-hmm.
I was 40 years old and I was single for a reason. And it wasn't God's fault and it wasn't other people's fault. It was me. And I had to take radical responsibility for that and level up. But
Mm-hmm.
because of all the hard work I did and all the inner fears and insecurities I plowed through, when I got married, it was actually to a degree easier.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all of a sudden there was this calm.
Mm-hmm.
The commitment and covenant was established, and we're all in, and
Mm-hmm.
now we can fight the giants, together,
Mm-hmm.
moving into marriage. And so for me, marriage was actually easier than I thought
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I'm more consistent,
Yeah.
more um, well, I'd say more consistent in anything in what I do because there's a deeper sense of purpose within. Life isn't just revolving around me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel more balanced. I have somebody to help me,
Yeah.
and to walk alongside and yoke up with. So it's just I feel that it's a good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the only way that marriage will be easier than you thought is if you do the hard work now. So choose your hard now,
Mm-hmm.
and life will be easier later. If you
Yes.
choose easy now, life will become harder later.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like hard now, easy later, easy now, hard later. And
Yeah.
that's the real heart and soul of the message I want to communicate about the crossing the Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Israelites, if you read the Bible, they had a few battles before the Jordan River. There were a few
Yeah.
kings that rose up against them and that they had to fight. So that was a little bit of prep for them for, really going after it in the land of Canaan. So embrace those battles before you get to the land of Jordan, or the river Jordan, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Embrace those. Go after them now. Consider like before the Jordan River crossing, you're single.
Mm-hmm.
Go after it.
Mm-hmm.
Have faith and trust in God and just go for it.
Yeah.
He'll lead you and guide you as you move forward. And then once you cross the River Jordan into the land of Canaan, marriage, you're already equipped. You've had a few battles, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, okay, this is just another, just same as that back there, just more and bigger. So,
Yeah. And yes, it will be hard times in marriage too. It's
oh, of
not going to
course,
be
not
all
dismissing anything.
rainbows and flowers. And yet, because you're ready, have the tools because you already know what to do next, it's going to be easier to overcome those things. So what we're saying is that if you prepare before marriage, it will be much easier and sweeter and smoother than if you are, just going with butterflies and those sparks in the beginning and don't have the tools. Just know it's going to be much harder. And you still can do it, of course. You can choose to learn those tools in marriage as well. So just we're here to prepare you before you get there.
You can always start where you're at, no matter where you're at.
Yeah. So just know that there is hope at the end of the tunnel for every one of us if we choose to learn and to grow, and
It's
we'll
just,
get there.
yeah, it's just like soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
They train
Mm-hmm.
before they go into battle.
Yep.
Same concept.
Yep. All right. Be blessed. We'll see you on the next one.